In most cases they're not. Children's illnesses are there for children to catch. That in effect builds up their immune system, strengthens it. The orthodoxy always bring up the death rate of measles in third world countries. Sure, thousands of children die of measles in third world countries, but that's not because they don't get the measles vaccine. That's because of malnourishment, poor living conditions, poor water supplies, no sewerage. In Western countries, children very rarely die of any of the childhood illnesses. And those that do die usually have some other coexisting problem.
We see children with diphtheria antibodies, with pertussis antibodies, who've never had the illness. How did this happen? Well, it's because it went in through the top end, a type of vaccination has occurred, the immune system's grabbed these pertussis or the diphtheria, has recognised it, and then said, oh, here's the answer, and now the body's protected.
Looking at these diseases in their natural history and their natural pattern, they are not significant diseases. Mumps is typically a benign disease of childhood. When occurring in young children, other than causing some glandular swelling and discomfort, it passes with generally no long-term consequences. However, mumps in a teenager has a high rate of causing testicular inflammation and other problems. It is not the same disease as when it occurs in childhood. Similarly, rubella in young children is a very benign, self-limited disease. Measles, yes, certainly measles can cause complications in childhood, but there are good studies now that show that measles is basically a vitamin A deficient disease. It occurs in a much higher rate with people with an underlying subclinical vitamin A deficiency, and indeed the World Health Organization are using significant doses of vitamin A being given to people in the undeveloped countries to help prevent measles. So the whole question of the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine causing side effects when it is being used to vaccinate against diseases that perhaps shouldn't even consider being vaccinated against.
Children in a natural environment with adequate education, adequate wealth, adequate access to medical resources should they become sick, then all of the vaccine preventable diseases, with the exception of polio, are eminently treatable illnesses. Even measles and mumps, although they're viruses, these do not need to be severe illnesses for the vast majority of children. For sick children, people who are already sick, yes, you can get adverse consequences, but nothing like the rate that we put up with risks in other areas of our lives. These are very, very minor risks, consequences, but nothing like the rate that we put up with risks in other areas of our lives. These are very, very minor risks compared to the risks that we put up with, even possibly with vaccination.
This is a very interesting article. Lancet, 1985. Measles virus infection without rash in childhood is related to disease in adult life. The benefits of measles. What it means is that having measles not only gives lifelong immunity, specific immunity to measles, but also non-specific immunity to certain tumors, immunoreactive diseases, degenerative diseases of bone and cartilage, and sebaceous skin diseases. Why would anybody want to rob children of this benefit? And on top of that, measles also represents developmental milestone, because people, you notice that after recovering from measles, children have got a growth sort of spurt. And this is an article published in Cancer, 1966. Already in 1966, they knew that having mumps protects against ovarian cancer.
Now, my daughter got measles at the age of about 6 or 7, which is fairly normal. And she drew a series of pictures. Now, we have a lot of interest in childhood drawings. Here is a little person here, trapped inside this red-hot house, which of course is her body, with a high fever. And she wasn't very happy at that stage. And then she went through another phase, and the sun started coming out a little bit. And she drew this sort of picture. We see the house is still red, but the flowers are out. Things are getting better. And then suddenly she drew this picture, which intrigued us. And it was a very dreamy child, these lovely dreamy children. But suddenly she drew a picture at the end of her measles illness which showed an amazing amount of detail. As you see, there's tiles on the roof, there's a clothesline, there's palings on the fence, there's birds, there's lots of detail. And we had the very strong feeling that this illness had actually helped wake her up to the world. And I give a lot of talks to parents, and I always ask this question: do you see your child making any developmental steps through the illness they've gone through, especially in illness with a fever and a rash? And I think many people who've got away from the antibiotic suppressing type philosophy with antibiotic paracetamol are actually now acknowledging this, that we actually see children going through a growth spurt in terms of development. Maybe they start speaking better, maybe they show new signs of development. I could talk for half now, I don't want to because I don't have the time, but it's just interesting, if you look at illness in a different way, maybe these illnesses actually have a role in childhood, and maybe supporting your child through the illness is actually much better for the immune system, the child's whole development, than using fairly toxic substances to try and prevent it, which maybe you can't do anyway.
So asking whether childhood diseases are dangerous could be